Morning, good afternoon. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to the global leadership team from Chevron. My name is Eduardo Barrientos, and I'm here to present to you today my consultant report and an action plan by leading organizational change frameworks based on the headquarters relocation move for Chevron. You want to share some slides? Hopefully you will be able to sit in on the screen. And I want to start the presentation with Mike with a recent message about the capital program investments and what the focus is going to be. Of course, you're aware your focus will be on the highest return on the investment, maintaining discipline and improving efficiency. At the same time, understanding your value for the long-term value of the company, which is important. So again, I want to start this part of the message because it's going to be critical as we go through these transformation changes to making sure the framework and the action plan is aligned with this vision. So let me move to the next slide. So the overall purpose of this program at Chevron relocation of its headquarters from California to Texas involve a complex change, organizational change, and this is require strong leadership, cultural alignment, and effective communication from everyone, including this leadership team. So this report provides recommendations for the Chevron executive team, integrating different established organizational change management models, my business consultant experience, and of course, Chevron's core values to provide actionable plan recommendations to the successful Osher transformation. So I refer to your office move or your headquarters move as a transformational program because as communicated by the leadership team, you will be doing this move in stages over 2-3 years, right? So to address the organizational changes while maintaining and improving the company operation performance and efficiencies as committed to your stakeholder, it's important to establish this change management program. So to the move schedule in phases is also accompanied by your acquisition or HAS, which is the offshore Guyana assets, and making probably the change management even more critical and ensure that the organization stay focused on your strategic imperatives. So let me move to the next slide. So I want to share with you that from framework, organizational change framework, I basically use key elements from, first of all, from the Chevron way, right? And I'll, as I state and communicate, as you communicate, basically embedding belief, vision, and values in every decision that you make. So I wanted to making sure that this report is aligned with that vision and those beliefs. Now, I use different also two models like Burke's model. From Burke, I primarily use when he's talking about change, he's talking about pre-launch, launch, post-launch, and a sustaining change phases, which is going to be important as we move through the change program. So we're going to keep this in mind. I also basically going to be using model from John Cotter. From John Cotter, my focus is going to be about compelling vision. Is going to be important. You already had a vision as a company, but we need to making sure continue driving that vision as you do the transition. Maybe employees will leave, some employees will remain. You will have to change some roles, so it is important to maintain, empower them, create a sense of urgency and adaptive culture to that vision. I also including on this report some illustration about some respected leaders, like for example, Alan Mulally, who is basically accredited by the turnaround completely of Ford Motor during the vehicle industry recession. And his focus on a strategy was around people first leadership, which is aligned also to with Chevron's way, inclusion, transparency, and resilience, which is also to me, I think, when I was reading through, it was aligned with your values. I also wanted to incorporate some illustration on leadership as I've been learning through David Cottrell on this book, Monday Morning Leadership. That is something that I want to quote to you. That is something that he referred here that he's talking about the main thing. And the main thing is basically the vision of that company and what do they want the employees to be focused on. So I'm going to quote what he said here, which is said, actually, the main thing was really three things to being able to accomplish, right? Equip your employees with the tools to be successful, provide a standing service to our customer, and make a profit, which again is critical that as leadership team, you continue to remain to your employees what is the main thing. I also want to share with you, this is a great book, The 20 Irrefutable Law of Leadership. I use it a lot when I'm talking about leadership team and change. There is an area of influence, which is critical, which is also part of what I had learned from Cotter and Berkey. But I'm going to quote you something that is key. In the book here, they talk about social influence doesn't become leadership influence until the people following change their behavior and take actions as a result of the interaction with the influencer. On this case, the leadership team of Chevron are the key influencers, and it's important that you walk the talk and you maintain the communication. And I'll talk about more about that. Now, I also use some reference from the Winning Teams, Winning Cultures of Larry Singh. And I like it because as I was reading through some of this book, it is aligned also too with Alan Mullally's vision as he joined Ford Motor. And actually, they had a quote here that is called, they said, culture eats a strategy for breakfast. And this was taken from the war room of Ford Motor Company when Alan Mulally was leading the company. And they talk about a strategy. And I quote, the ideal cultural is one that supports an organization overall mission, strategies, and organization-wide initiative. Whenever an organization wants to shift direction, implement a new strategy, change their structure, or execute a new system, cultures comes into play. And we'll talk about a lot about that. Is critical. In this case, you're not necessarily changing your vision, but there are some strategy changes. There are some structure changes as you do your move. So it's going to be important to keep and maintain that information. Now, lastly, of course, as a Christian, it's going to be important for you to also to use the Bible and your faith to the Word, and I talk about more on as we talk about your role on these organizations. Let me move to the next slide. So, from leadership role, leadership is not only about authority, have we just mentioned. It's also about influencing. It's about shaping and empowering your team. So the Chevron way values listed here provide basically a strategy imperative for the leadership team that we can use as part of the organizational changes. As the CDO Mike Worth stated, and I will quote, partnership and getting the best of our workforce is critical to Chevron's culture, right? So as the leader of the company, you must communicate that clear vision, model the company values, and empower decision-making to ensure accountability, right? So I will start with, for example, diversity and inclusion, right? With diversity and inclusion, you have to champion diversity, cultivating an environment of people and individuals to be value and empower them to contribute their unique perspective on your goals and objectives, right? Let's talk about leading performance. You need to promote leading performance by basically promoting innovation, continuous improvement, and excellent execution, right? Let's making sure that we recognize those as they go through to reinforce that message. Let's talk about partnership. As you move to the new state, you're going to have to have adaptation to regulatory state environments and align with your stakeholder expectations to making sure it meets your objective. So let's talk about now people environment. I would say that from that you need to foster in a safe and healthy, environmentally responsible workplace, and that prioritize hopefully well-being for our people, and in this case the community also too as you transition to a new state. And mostly trust and integrity. From a trust and integrity, you have to hold to that trust in order to avoid gossiping and people thinking that they don't understand what is happening. You have to be transparent, provide accountability and ethical conduct, but create making sure that the business deal with efficiencies and cost reduction. You communicate exactly what that means, what are some of the plans that you have, so people understand also too is going to be important. So that's basically your goal. We move to the next slide, which is about finding. Probably we'll focus more here as a high level and then establishing more of the action plans on the next slide. But here's some of the key elements of this slide is going to be about the central successful transformation that it needs to come from the leadership team. Of course, the culture, then the cultural alignment, because again, not everybody may wants to move. You may have to change different roles. You will have to leverage some people in one state or the other. So while you had established culture already, you may have new employees that join. So you need to keep that in mind as you empower and influence your organization, right? You need to make sure that the employee experience get as expected. And we're going to talk about biblical principles, right? As a Christian and supporting a Christian organization, biblical leadership principles, building that trust is going to be important. Let me move to the next slide, which is focus more on actionable recommendation and what we're talking about. So from a culture perspective, organization success depends on aligning that strategy, structure, and the culture, right? We've been talking about as Coder and Berkes mentioned on their framework model. So the cultural integration is especially important as team merge. Again, as you shifting resources from one state to the other one, and they move or they not, or they bring new employees, you need to keep that in mind. So as new processes are adopted, best practices are included, making sure that they keep engaged. You continue shaping the culture, recognize and reward positive behaviors, let's proactive address resistance and engage some influencers, right? Let's identify those influencers that can help with those changes, but at the same time, let's be proactive on addressing some of those resistance through communication, action plans. Diversity and inclusion and partnership should be the remainder of priority as part of the values from a Chevron perspective. So let me talk about influence and empowerment. From an influence and empowerment perspective, the leadership is fundamental about influence. So empower, as and emphasized by John Maxwell as a chair, right? It's empower and influence is essential to unleash the workforce potential. And then the Chevron ways encourage employees to remove any barriers, empowering employees to make decisions. So leaders more be trust, delegate authority then, celebrate contribution, foster servant leadership as again, as Christians. So encouraging and empowering employees to make independent decisions and help them to eliminate any obstacle, right? Empowering projects to delegation and training. There are certain activities that you can, making sure that you can empower and delegate to them. Focus on those that allow them to feel that they're part of the chain. Set clear roles and accountabilities to those delegated tasks, and of course support their career transition. Some of them may change roles, some of them may change position. Again, it's a family move, sometimes it's difficult for some people, so it is important to work through that, influence and empower them as you go through this period. Communication strategies for the transformation. I guess transparent and frequent communication is key. It is true that as much communication as we can, you have to focus on provide a lot of communication. Clearly articulate how the vision, your vision, is aligned with the reallocation of the company. How communicate clear collective vision of the future. These changes will happen through the future. And keep it through multiple channels, newsletters, town halls, ensuring that reach out to those influencers, reinforce the message to storytelling and visual tools also too that you can share through communication like this. Facilitate forums for feedback and dialogue to the employee is going to be critical. As you visit the locations, you visit the different team and function, it is important that they feel that they can raise their concern and they can provide some information to you, right? But align some compelling stories to your vision as you do this change, and let's encourage two-way dialogue and communication. Now, from a biblical integration perspective, I think that value-based leadership is going to be important, right? Faith-based principles such as humility and services and resilience guide leader through uncertainty. And during this time of uncertainty, it's key and critical that they feel that they get supported. So being several leadership, provide hope and inspire, reinforce Chevron values actually, and integrating these principles strengthens both the individual and the organizational well-being. Now, I use Jeremiah 29:11 as an example that you can use for communication when you talk about their employees, to making sure that God is here to provide the best for us. And us is not only the organization, but us as an individual. But it's also too that when they feel that is a difficult situation, and when they feel that they have gone through difficult times, that God is there if they prayed, and He had promised that they will be listening to them, right? So biblical view on the change is very important. So please keep that in mind, and again, as a central leader, demonstrate that through the change organization. Now, last but not least, sustain the momentum as you go through some of these changes, right? Monitor data-driven decisions, validate as you provide the updates and the communications that we were talking about, making sure that you show the progress, provide metrics to the employee so they see they're meeting the expectation of the organization, but also too that they can provide some feedback or some of those metrics. And let's celebrate short-term wins, milestone, making sure that they see that they're meeting some of those goals as things are progressing. Now, let me move to the next slide. And as final remarks and as a conclusion, I want to leave you with the Chevron vision. And I want you to understand that the Chevron's relocation is more than just a physical move. But this is also a strategic opportunity to reaffirm the commitment to your excellence, adaptability, human progress. And by grounding the progress proven change management methodologies that we talk about today, the leadership principles, the Chevron core values, and the biblical leadership, the company can navigate through this change and this transformation with integrity and resilience. Let's the key to success, I guess, for the employee involvement, it will be to be a servant leader and making sure that you keep your culture coherent, right? Let's sustain momentum all the time by rewarding employees. Let's keep clear communication and provide clear communication and ongoing leadership development. Let's provide that training and that support for them for the Chevron future growth and influence. So again, as you're stating your vision here, to the global energy company most admired to its people, partnership, and performance. Thank you so much, and I hope that this report will allow you to manage this critical change through your organization.